Are we streaming yet?
One moment. You.
Now we are. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to tonight's Community Board 11 zoning meeting. I'm Lori, the chair of the committee. My co-chair, Ross, unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. This meeting tonight will be informational only because there will be a public hearing scheduled in the future. This is for 7120 New Utrecht Avenue for rezoning an existing R5 for a 9-story mixed-use building with 100 units in the ground floor retail. We have with us Jeff, who is the consultant, and I believe Eli is also with the group. So, Marnie, did you want to jump in before we turn it over? Okay, so Jeff, Eli, we're going to turn it over to you so that way the committee can be informed of your plans and we can take it back to the board.
Well, thank you all for meeting with us tonight. And this is obviously an informal meeting. We greatly appreciate the time that you're giving to us and to hearing this proposal. And we definitely welcome your feedback. I am doing the community advocacy, discussing this project with the council member and the very selected officials. And obviously, you find people who are serving on this esteemed board. And Ellie is our attorney, who is pretty amazing at what he does. And I'm going to let him take it from here. So thank you both very much, all very much for being here tonight.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff, for that introduction. And I echo Jeff's sentiment. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. Can everyone see my presentation that I'm sharing? Great. We're excited to present to you tonight our proposal for rezoning at 7120 New Utrecht Avenue in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, Community District 11. My name is Ellie Gewurtz. I'm from the firm David F. Hutcher and Citrin. Our proposed land use actions, we're requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone the site from R5 C22 to C44L. And we're also proposing to eliminate the entire C22 district, which is currently mapped 100 feet deep from New Utrecht Avenue. This is also accompanying this zoning map amendment is a zoning text amendment to map an MIH area over the project area. We're proposing to map MIH options 1 and 2 over the proposed C44L district. These land use actions are meant to facilitate the development of a 9-story mixed-use building containing 85,000 square feet of floor area, containing 100 total dwelling units, 70 of which will be market rate, 30 of which would be affordable units pursuant to MIH option 2. And there will be 11,651 square feet of commercial use on the ground floor. Just to orient ourselves again, where the site is located on the Utrecht Avenue between 71st and 72nd Streets. We're on the western side of New Utrecht Avenue. We're in Councilmember Justin Brannan's district. So here's an aerial view of our site. Sorry, in blue here, that's the proposed development site. It consists of block 6180, lots 33, which is the lot that's on the corner here of New Utrecht and 72nd Street, and lot 31, which is the interior lot here. That consists of the parking lot, which is an accessory parking lot to this former bank building, which is no longer operating as a bank. We're also including in our proposed project area this site here on the corner of 71st Street and New Utrecht Avenue. This is the site on lot 29. It's a 2-story building. It has 4 dwelling units on the second floor, and the ground floor contains a nail salon and a hair barber salon, as well as a deli convenience store on the ground floor. And we'll see pictures momentarily. And most noteworthy about this site is that it runs right up against the D elevated train line. As you see here, there's a subway entrance to the 71st Street station right here on the corner of 71st Street and Utrecht Avenue in front of our project area. This is a look at the existing zoning maps. Our site is right here in this R5C22 district. As you see, it's amid a large R5 district. There's also an R4 district mapped to the south as well. This is what our zoning change map. So we're proposing to change the zoning map from R5C22 to C44L. The C44L district would be mapped 140 feet deep from 72nd Street and 80 feet deep from New Utrecht Avenue along 71st Street, comprising lots 29, 31, and 33. Here's a look at our tax map. Again, showing the development site here in red, and lot 29 is included in our proposed project area as well, in order to create a more comprehensive zoning district boundary for the C44L district. This is a map from Zola, just to give everyone a more of a visual of our elimination of the C22 district. So as you see here, the C22 district, which currently exists, is outlined here in red. So as you see, parts of the C22 district, just given the angle of the block here, encompasses lots 44 and lots 27, which have single family homes on them. We are not proposing any development along those lots. They're included as part of our project area because we are eliminating the C22 portion of the map that currently covers parts of lots 27 and 44. But our development site and C44L district would just comprise lots 29, 31, and 33. Here's a look at the land use map of the surrounding area. So as noted, you see the D train line running along New Utrecht Avenue. Lieutenant Joseph Petrosino Park is located diagonally across the street here between 71st and 70th Street. You'll notice in blue, there's a few significant community facility uses within the immediate surrounding area. Right here is PS 112 Lefferts Park School on 15th Avenue between 71st and 72nd. One block to the south is the Lady Guadalupe Roman Catholic Church. And this blue building here on 73rd is an annex to the Lefferts Park School. I also want to point out this in the light purple here is a 4-story, 75-foot Verizon utility building, which is across from our development site. As you see, our development site is at the intersection of New Utrecht Avenue and 16th Avenue. So the Verizon utility building is here on the eastern side of 16th Avenue. And we'll show photographs momentarily. So here, getting into the photographs. So this is what the existing site looks like now. This is the former Capital One Bank building on the corner of New Utrecht Avenue and 72nd Street. As you can see, the elevated train here along 72nd Street. Here's another image of the site, which captures more of the accessory parking lot to the north. That's lot 31. There's a more zoomed out view of our development site at the corner of 72nd Street and New Utrecht Avenue. This is giving you a sense of how New Utrecht Avenue looks, looking north from 72nd Street with the elevated train above. You see immediately across the street, there's a laundromat with a large accessory parking lot, as well as another convenience store. This is a view of our development site from 72nd Street. You see the elevated train to the east. This is further down on 72nd Street. This is where our proposed parking ramp would be to access the parking ramp along 72nd Street in the proposed development. Here's a more zoomed out view of the proposed project area. This is lot 31, which has the accessory parking lot. And now you're starting to see the building that I mentioned before on lot 29. That's the 2-story building with the deli and hair and nail salon, with the entrance to the 71st Street D train station right in front of this building on lot 29. Here's a more straight on view of that building that we're including in our proposed project area. Again, with the entrance to the 71st Street station right in front. This is the other facade along 71st Street of the building on lot 29. And here is the full scale with showing these stairs leading to the station of the building on lot 29. Again, the four dwelling units on the second floor and a deli and hair and nail salon on the ground floor. Now we'll get into our proposed plans, what we're proposing to build at this development site. So you see this is our proposed development. It's a 9-story building with ground floor retail uses and residential uses above. It's going to be a concrete building accented by a light stone cladding system, a modern, nice looking building. And we'll speak to the setbacks momentarily. This is our proposed zoning sheet. So as you see, we're pretty much maxing out the FAR that would be permitted under the C44L district, which has an R7A residential equivalent, which allows up to a 4.6 FAR with MIH. We're proposing 4.59 FAR, 85,034 square feet of total floor area, broken down into 73,383 square feet of residential floor area and 11,651 square feet of commercial floor area. We're also providing 35 required parking spaces in the cellar. These are required under the C44L district. And we're also providing 52 bicycle parking spaces in the cellar, as well as in an amenity space on the first floor. So here I want to speak about the setbacks here. As you know, this is something that's unique to our site, the fact that we are right up against the New Utrecht Avenue D train line. That's something that we were very cognizant of when we were developing our design for this building. So we're setting the building back, as you see here, at the lowest base height permitted under the C44L district, which is at 25 feet. So the first floor, the commercial space would be 15 feet, and then all floors above have 10-foot floor to ceiling heights. We're setting back at the lowest base height permitted, of a 15-foot setback beyond the building base. Additionally, as required by the C44L district, where the building will be set back 5 feet from the sidewalk, creating a more pleasant pedestrian experience along the sidewalk here. And we're also cognizant of the lower density scale of the R5 district to the west along 72nd Street. So we're pulling the building back an additional 22 feet. There's an 8-foot side yard across the entire site. And then at the 6th floor, which is at 55 feet high, we'll be pulling the building back an additional 22 feet. So again, trying to be respectful of our surrounding context here. So at the 6th floor, the building would be the massing would be 30 feet from our property line along the western side here along 72nd Street. Here's just our site plan. As you see, our development site contains 18,518 square feet of lot area. This is our proposed cellar with the 35 parking spaces. The entrance to the cellar, here along in the first floor. This is our first floor plan. So here's the entrance to the cellar along the western side of the lot along 72nd Street, trying to pull cars away from New Utrecht Avenue. This is our double height commercial retail space along the entirety of New Utrecht Avenue and about halfway down from 72nd Street. And beyond the commercial portion along 72nd Street, you have the residential lobby entrance, as well as our amenity and bike parking space here along 72nd Street. Again, trying to keep the residential nature of 72nd Street intact and keeping most of the commercial frontage along the Utrecht Avenue, which is the more commercial nature of our lot frontage. This is our second floor plan. Again, as you see, because of the elevated rail line is about at the second floor of this building, we were conscious to not put any dwelling units along the New Utrecht Avenue frontage here. We're pulling the building back with the 5-foot sidewalk widening, and because we couldn't set back at the second floor, we're putting just recreational spaces, the laundry room, and the double height commercial space here along the New Utrecht Avenue frontage, pulling all the apartment units away from the elevated rail line as best as possible here along the second floor, and the remainder of the floor will contain 10 apartment units. Here's the plan along, this is for floors 3 through 5. As you see in this chart here, where the proposed development proposes 100 total dwelling units, 20 of which would be studios, 46 would be 1 bedroom, 31 would be 2 bedroom, and 3 of which would be 3 bedroom. And then 30%, or in this case, the math is simple, 30 of those units would be MIH units in perpetuity. They'd be affordable housing units pursuant to MIH option 2. And here's our floor plan for lots for floors 6 through 9. Again, a little bit less apartments on these floors because we're pulling the building in at the 6th floor to be cognizant of the R5 district to the west here. Here's our sections. Again, as I mentioned before, a cellar for parking, 15-foot first floor, and then 10-foot height for the remaining floors 2 through 9. And here you have some more renderings. This gives you a sense of where the elevated rail would match up against our proposed development. So as you see here, it's approximately at the height of the second floor of the building. This is the New Utrecht Avenue frontage. And then this is the frontage along 72nd Street. The entrance to the parking garage would be here. This is a 13-foot driveway. As you see, part of the second floor cantilevers over the driveway here. And we have an 8-foot side yard throughout the entire length of the lot here along 72nd Street. And here are just some more renderings of the building from different viewpoints. So that concludes our presentation. I just, before leaving it open to questions, I do want to point out that based on our racial equity report that we were required to file for this application, we found that there was only a 1.6% increase in housing units in this community district between 2010 and 2020, compared to a 9.3% increase in population overall, meaning that household production in the area is severely lagging behind population growth. And since 2014, only 107 new income restricted units have been developed in this community district for low income households, and none have been developed for moderate income households. So based on the research that we've done, we found that this area has not kept up with housing production compared to the rest of Brooklyn, compared to the rest of the city, and people are moving into this area without places to live. And we're hoping this, our proposal here and this project could help alleviate some of the housing issues being experienced in Community District 11 and throughout Brooklyn as well. So thank you so much for your time, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
The parking spaces,
Yes.
100 units and 35 parking spaces.
Yes, so Under the C4-4L district, you're required to provide parking for 50% of the market rate units only. And especially because we're right next to a subway station. We found that, we didn't, that we wanted to just provide that what's minimum required by zoning here. So because we're providing 70 market rate units, we're only required to provide 50%, which is 35 parking spaces.
And the height of the building,
The height of the building will be 95 feet.
there is nothing else that high around it.
So there's 75 feet across the street at the Verizon Utility Center.
Yeah, he's right.
So that's the tallest building within the immediate surrounding area. We are aware that, this area does tend to have shorter buildings, but we do think, given the location of the site right next to a wide avenue of New Utrecht Avenue, right next to the subway station, it promotes the city's policy of developing higher density along transit areas with near public transit. So we did think that that the proposed development was appropriate at this site.
I feel that the building is too big for the area, and have the people that are going to be looking at it next to it been notified.
Yes, so we've notified our neighbors along lot 29, lots 44 and 27. We haven't received any pushback from them.
One other thing, did I miss it, but I didn't see the 71st Street side, because the 72nd Street side is where the driveway is to the parking lot, right? I don't see a rendering of 71st Street.
Yes, so our building will not be fronting 71st Street. That's I'll go back to the image. That building will remain. That building along 71st Street is this building here. That's not that's not an applicant owned site. So it's part of our project area because we do think that C4-4L makes sense along the entire frontage here along New Utrecht Avenue, but it's not an applicant owned site. We are not developing this site at all. And that's why you don't see any frontage along 71st.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Did you, the other thing I was gonna ask was, did you have any ideas yet of what kind of commercial use that's gonna be for? Like what type?
Yeah, so just from walking through the area, we do find that there is a need for some, more active retail uses here. So we don't have anyone lined up yet, but we could be looking at perhaps a supermarket or perhaps some sort of larger, one-stop shop kind of service store that could be a service to the community. I'm just walking along this portion of New Utrecht Avenue. You have a lot of just very small, deli, convenient type stores, no real retail that can really, draw, pedestrians and really activate the streetscape here. And that's something that we want to do here, considering, this site, has been, vacant. We definitely do want to be activating this site.
I thought, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Key Food still there on 70th Street in New York?
Yes.
Avenue?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it's across the street from the park.
Yeah,
Yes,
so it's
Key Food
like
is
1.5
there
blocks
along
down. Yeah, okay.
So again, we're open to this, something that we're open to discussion with your community board. If you guys do not want to see a supermarket here, that's okay with us. And we definitely want this to be something that the community can really benefit from.
How is parking going to be handled with the commercial retail on the ground floor?
So the commercial, we're not required, we would waive out of all, there's no parking requirements for the commercial under the C4-4L. We do think because this is such a transit rich site that we're not anticipating issues when it comes to traffic and parking, where the D train is literally right there. So we're just gonna be, we're not required to provide any commercial parking in the C44L. And we're just, and that's something also that we know the borough president specifically likes to see as little amount of parking as possible in these C44L districts that are right next to subway stations. So that's something we're also conscious of when developing this building, when proposing the design.
So where would the 35 parking space be at though?
So those would be in the cellar. So this is our cellar plan. So we are providing a cellar right here. This is the 35 parking spaces. And then the entrance to the cellar is here along 72nd Street. So this is a one-way street moving east-west from New Utrecht Avenue. So they'd be coming in here and accessing the cellar along 72nd Street.
Lori, to your question, we don't have any tenants yet. Obviously, we're probably around 2 years out, so it's too early to to lock down any tenants, but we definitely want to work with the community, and we definitely want to hear what the community board has in mind as far as tenants, and we will seek to get those tenants in there for our commercial partners, or
Okay,
retail partners.
sure. The other thing is probably too soon. I don't know if it is too soon yet about like with the MTA, with the subway being right there and the possibility for ADA and having an elevator.
So so we actually were required, there's a new section in the zoning that requires you to get I believe it's called like a certification from the MTA to see if they're going to need an easement through your property. And they determined that we will not need an easement. So we already went through that process. They said, yeah, so the MTA is well aware of this development site, and they haven't said anything to us that they would want us to build ADA access or anything like that.
Okay, great, thanks. Anybody else from the committee that had a question or comment that they wanted to make?
Yeah, I think the building is too big for the area, to be honest with you. I mean, it's all private homes over there, and the only tall building is the Verizon building, which has been there for years. All right, but everything else is basically 3 stories high is the tallest that's in that area. Now you're gonna put in a 9-story building on the corner, which it's gonna overshadow everything else in the neighborhood.
So yeah, we definitely we acknowledge that concern, but we do think in order to build the housing that that this community district we understand needs, this is.
Excuse me, we have so much housing being built in this entire district. There isn't a need for more. It's overpopulated.
Eileen's referring to Cropsey Avenue has a number of new houses that are going up, huge complexes. It's about, I don't
In the
know.
Bay Streets too.
I think on Cropsey Avenue, it's like close to 1,000 units that are going up right now.
Uh-huh.
It's like maybe a mile away. It's not that far. It's all in the same neighborhood.
Okay, I'm sorry if I misspoke, but this was the data that we gathered from our racial equity report, which uses city data, and this is what they determined based on that
Well,
report.
excuse me, I think the city has to talk to the people who live in the community because they can tell them what it's like.
Okay.
Monty, was I off with that number with 1,000? Was I saying too much or?
No, including this proposal, the larger developments in the absence of smaller development. We have approximately, including the New Utrecht Avenue, it would bring it up to 930 new units.
Okay. Monty,
I'm sorry, can you just remind me the apartments that are not low income, how many are there here?
So
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. So yeah, we're proposing 70 market rate and
Right.
30 affordable.
Right, so what I just wanted to mention is understanding the requirements for the minimum parking. Nevertheless, for the people who are not low income, most, regardless of it being near a subway station, most will likely have a car. We're talking about possibly definitely putting another 30, 40 cars on the street in a place that's there's parking is already impossible. And I would just say that the height of the building and the number of apartments personally wouldn't really concern me as much as that. As much as if there were more parking accommodations, so that we're not putting dozens more cars on the streets in a place that it's already impossible to find parking.
So if that's a sentiment that your community board feels, that's something that we could go back and consider if you do want to see more parking here. I know that may be at odds with what the borough president may want, but the community comes first in that regard. So we could probably fit more spaces here if that's something that the community really wanted to see. But
You know, if you have retail stores on the ground floor, you're talking about more parking because people do shopping, don't always rely on mass transportation. They take their cars. So you're talking about parking from the tenants of the building and parking from the people that's going in and out of the retail stores, especially depending on what kind of stores you put in there. So now you're talking about more traffic, more parking, and more congestion.
So again, I could bring this back to our architect and see if how many more spaces they can fit in the cellar here. My understanding is that right now it is underutilized. Again, we kept it to the minimum because we thought that was most appropriate for the C44L district right next to the subway station. But if your community board feels strongly that there should be more parking, that's something we can definitely look into and get back to you on.
Yes,
Okay.
Is the parking downstairs going to be private or is it going to be open to the public?
So the 35 spaces that we were proposing were going to be private. But again,
So-
because those were meant for the residential homeowners. Again, because the C44L district does not require any parking for commercial uses, we were not anticipating commercial users to be parking here. The commercial space was more for people who, walking to the site or taking public transit. But most likely, even if we did add spaces, this would all be private parking.
But then with the commercials, like parking, like is really very congested over there. And with the 35 parking spots, but 70 is market rate, and you said 38 is for affordable low income. How would you 30? How would you choose who gets the parking space too? Because that's, I mean, is it like lottery or something?
So yeah, it's a good question. I don't believe it's like you're dedicated like a spot. That's something that, building management would have to weigh in on. I think it's just, 35 spaces, first come, first serve. I don't think it's like unit 2, this is your spot, or I don't think that's the way it works, especially when, as you noted, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio of parking to dwelling units. But again, that's something that I could find out about.
That's usually the way it's set up. Parking spaces are part of the deed for the apartments. Is this a condo building?
No, rental.
I don't recall it being mentioned about any greenery here because there are issues with our very old sewage lines. Very old. Yeah, we laugh, but we're not laughing. Is there anything in terms of greenery? Because I know it's a concrete building, of course, but is there any plans for any greenery to absorb water?
So we're proposing just some nice plantings along like the terraces throughout the building. We're also required to provide some street trees. So the way, if you can provide, because there's some impediments to street trees at this site, given there's curb cuts and the elevated rail line. So whatever we can't accommodate at the actual site, we pay into like the Department of Parks and Recreation Fund. But we're hoping that with the site constraints, we can have approximately 3 to 4 street trees planted between the 72nd and New Utrecht Avenue frontages, and then the rest of the remaining street trees would be paying into the fund.
Any plans for the rooftop, for anything on the rooftop?
So we're not proposing any recreational space right now. There is a local law that was passed in 2019 that requires green roofs, or sort of like kind of like more energy efficient, and that we will be complying with that local law. Using different either green roof or other photovoltaic materials to comply with that local law.
Okay, thanks.
But
Monty,
this-
did we have somebody who wanted from the public to ask a question?
Yes, so they typed the question. They're asking about CCTV cameras and or surveillance footage are important to community safety and meaningful crime prevention. Where will the security features be added, as well as adequate lighting on dim blocks that become magnet for criminality? I don't know if this necessarily pertains to this building.
Yeah, so I can't answer that regarding surveillance footage, but we will be providing lighting, like as you see in this image. Let me see if I can just zoom. So yeah, you see here, we are providing light fixtures along the New Utrecht Avenue frontage here. So that is something that we're hoping to, make this, a safe spot. And again, right now, without an active use, this site, just by activating the site, that also increases safety, having people walking by, so we're hoping that with an active use that overall will help with the safety of the site.
And obviously, we want to be good neighbors, and we're happy to look at increased security and enhanced security if that's a concern that the board has.
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask, because historically you're showing us the residential frontage, but New Utrecht Avenue is historically dark. Are you adding anything on the commercial portion?
You're saying along New Utrecht Avenue?
Yeah,
So,
along that frontage of your building.
so this is our New Utrecht Avenue elevation here. So
Oh,
we-
okay, I
yes,
apologize.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
these are the lights here along,
Okay.
Right,
Mhm.
we can have large windows, we can have lights there, and
yeah,
obviously this site has been empty for years because of the
know.
bank that shut down years ago. So right now, honestly, it's a little bit of a blight, and hopefully this will,
Agreed.
yeah,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, and to that point, we're not, displacing any existing businesses. We're not kicking anyone out. This is, we're really just trying to activate the site, and that's something that we think is a benefit to this project. We also just, given the surrounding infrastructure, the playgrounds, the schools, the subway, that there is surrounding infrastructure here that could support, new residential uses.
And I just have a question I'm going to put out there. You have quite a few studio units.
Mhm.
What is the possibility of breaking down a lower, doing a carve out for a lower affordability for those studios?
So right now, so we're showing 20 of studio apartments. So the question is, you'd want to see more of this?
Asking, yeah, if there was a way, because it's either usually older people that live in a
Mhm.
studio or younger,
Yes.
right?
So you're saying?
Yeah, so we can definitely look at that. We have the studios because we assume that usually most of those folks wouldn't have cars. That was being done intentionally to offer the studios for those individuals.
Mhm.
And obviously, we're here, this is informational, we're here to listen.
Yes.
The community is very important to us, and we definitely want to make sure that all your concerns are addressed and we have your input.
Is this gonna be a greenhouse?
Well, we're gonna be, as I said before, we're gonna be providing green roofs. I don't, what do you mean by greenhouse?
No, I mean by omitting fossil fuel, being electric, total electric.
So I don't believe it's going to be total electric, at this stage, no.
All right, when is the tentative date of this being built?
So we're hoping, as we're gonna be starting ULIRP very soon, if we could, get this approved, that would take us probably till around, August time. So that's August 2023.
Yeah, we're thinking like 2 years from now, it'll be up.
Yeah, so probably early 2025, I would say.
All right, 2 years from now, any new developments are not supposed to use fossil fuels. It's supposed to be total electric.
So
That's a
yeah, I
law
mean,
that was
we're
signed
gonna,
in.
yeah, we're gonna obviously be complying with any local laws. We're not gonna be able to get a building permit if we're not complying with laws. So if that's gonna be the requirement, then we'll have to do that. But as of now,
Exactly.
yeah, my understanding is that that's not a requirement, and I wouldn't say that we'd be doing that as of today.
Well, I just want to thank you both, Eli and Jeff, for coming tonight and presenting to us. And of course, we're going to see you again at another time for the public hearing. But thank you
Yeah.
very
Forward.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so much.
CB11 folks, for coming out tonight and being here and giving your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Good
so
night,
much, and thank you
Albany.
for your time as well.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good night, everyone.
Have
See
a
you
good
soon.
night.
Bye.
Good night.